Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Sitecore Summer School. Sitecore Summer School will span a number of roles, not just IT and marketing, while addressing 12 subjects from context marketing to mobile experience, personalization, and the art of the possible, and everything in between to ensure you have all you need to ace customer experience. With more than 80 sessions available live and on demand during July and August, Sitecore Summer School will enable you to rethink your digital marketing strategy and lead transformation and disruption in your organization. Sessions from digital marketing leaders like Forrester Research, Vans and Board, Avanade will give you the answers when you need to demand more from your current strategy. I'm Talia Brolamaki, and I head marketing in the UK for Sitecore, and I will be moderating today's webinar. Just to make you all aware, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on www.sitecoresummerschool.com within the next 24 hours. Thomas will be taking questions for about 5 to 10 minutes at the end of his presentation. So please feel free to post any questions you have in the chat box on the left of your screen. And now I'd like to introduce you to Thomas Husson. Thomas is a Vice President and Principal Analyst serving B2C marketing professionals at Forrester Research. Thomas' research focuses on the integration of mobile into marketing and digital strategies, the disruptive role of mobile in bridging the digital and physical worlds, the convergence of mobile and social, and the impact of mobile devices and technologies, including wearables and connected objects, on people's attitudes and behaviors. His coverage includes mobile marketing and advertising, mobile internet and applications, and mobile commerce and payments. And now over to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Talia, and welcome and good morning to you. So what I'd like to do this morning is to share with you Forrester's perspective on how to keep marketing relevant in the age of the customer. And I need obviously to explain to you what we mean by the age of the customer and why we believe it is something that will change the game for marketers. To do this, let me first welcome you to hyper adoption. What we mean by that is the fact that consumers are now adopting new technologies, new apps faster than ever. If you follow the last few weeks, the last couple of weeks, and have seen the media buzz around Pokemon Go, this game has been massively adopted in just a couple of weeks, raising the new bar for augmented reality and location-based gaming. And this is just one of many examples. Another one that I like quite a lot, highlighting the fast pace of consumer adoption and technology innovation, is WeChat. Most of us know WeChat as sort of a messaging app, some kind of a Chinese version of Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. Well, in fact, it has become a lot more than this. It has become the lifestyle platform where Chinese consumers spend more than a third of their mobile time. It's huge, and it goes way beyond just being a messaging app. It is really a platform where you can buy, you can comment, you can book flights, you can do pretty much anything, even, control smart objects, connected objects from your WeChat app. And it's been launched in 2011, almost 5 years ago, and it has no more than 750 million active users. That is hyper adoption. And there are a number of companies that share some of these elements. Here you can see on this graphic lots of logos. It can be confusing. There's so many logos. And, these players have a lot in common. They are actually unicorns. That is to say, companies that are valuated more than $1 billion by investors. They are disrupting existing industries, whether you look at Uber or Snapchat, the yellow logo, or many others here. They have been valuated extremely quickly. To the point that VCs are now counting more than 152 unicorns, and so they created a new terminology referring to decacorns for companies that are valuated more than a dozen of billions of dollars. But anyway, what these companies have in common beyond being unicorns is that they have been created in just the past couple of years. They were born in the age of the customer. And what we define by the age of the customer is truly a new business cycle, a 20-year business cycle where at the end of the day, the competitive advantage is to be customer obsessed. Empowered buyers demand a new level of customer obsession through new technologies, through ratings and reviews, through mobile phones. They can get access to what they want in their moments of need, and they expect you to deliver your brand promise in the moment. That is really something new that is completely challenging existing businesses. This is not just the idea that the customer is king. It goes way beyond this, that you need to evolve your organization, your processes, your culture to be able to deliver and meet growing expectations from customers. However, even if we expect many of the unicorns you've seen on the first graphic to disappear, there will be some kind of a carnage. At the end of the day, digital disruption will not take a holiday. This is a phenomenon here to stay, and a phenomenon that is relatively well understood by executives. Almost 9 out of 10 told us in a survey we conducted recently that digital technologies will disrupt their business in the next 12 months. The challenge, however, is in how you execute on this. And here, only 26% of executives we interviewed told us that their CEO sets a clear vision for digital in their business. And only 16% of executives we surveyed told us they have the necessary people and skills to execute on their digital strategy.
Thomas, I have a quick question for you. What
Sure.
industries and verticals do you think are ahead of the curve in embracing the age of the customer?
Oh, good question. And sorry, I forgot to mention this, Talia. Feel free to interrupt me anytime if you want me to clarify or be more specific on some of the slides that I present. Is there any particular industry or vertical more advanced? I think some industries and some verticals have been disrupted more than others. It is particularly true for media companies. And to some extent in the travel space as well, if you look at the likes of Expedia and others. But at the end of the day, I think this is not necessarily the main. I mean, the industry is not the main factor. All industries are going to be disrupted. Some have more time than others, like in the insurance space, for example. There's lots of disruption going on, but businesses have a little bit more time to react to it. I think the difference is more in how you evolve the culture of an organization, are you ready to embrace change, and how do you consider innovation? And here the role of the CEO is absolutely critical. So within the same industry, the same vertical, depending on how the top management think of innovation and is ready to embrace change and to evolve the culture of the organization, results can vary dramatically from, one company to the other. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. But I think, yeah, you're right to point it out. Any industry will be impacted by disruption, and the level of answer really depends on how seriously the top management think of diffusing digital within the core of the organization. And beyond this, at Forrester, we believe there are 5 key market imperatives to differentiate in the age of the customer. The first one is to accelerate your digital business. The second one is to embrace the mobile mind shift. And we voluntarily distinguish mobile from digital because we believe mobile is not a sub-digital channel. It is actually a way to bridge digital and physical worlds, and it has a lot of unexpected consequences. So it's not a channel, it's actually an opportunity to transform the customer experience and to act as a catalyst for a business transformation. And through all these touch points, be they, mobile web or a traditional website, people share a lot of information about themselves, this whole big data phenomenon where you, as a business, you can collect huge volumes of data. Only makes sense if you turn these business insights into action, which is why we refer to this as the third market imperative. We don't care whether it's small or big data. What matters is really for you to act on it so that you deliver a better experience. That said, a lot of this data is increasingly personal data or data that can be very sensitive. With the Internet of Things and through mobile phones, you can collect location, the number of calories people burn on a day, the number of steps they make, and what have you. And we fundamentally believe that privacy already is a key differentiator. It's not just a compliance or a legal issue. It's really one way to drive business growth. And last but not least, the 5th market imperative is to transform the customer experience. It is really about delivering the brand promise across multiple touch points and channels that consumers are using at any given moment in time. So it really matters to embrace these 5 market imperatives. And I'm going to walk you through them during the rest of the presentation. I just want to first highlight that this is something shared by most executives we've interviewed. Age of the customer initiatives are top priorities for CMOs. When we ask them, what are your highest or your sort of critical priorities, they rank improving the experience of our customers, improving product and services, and addressing rising customer expectations are as the top 3 priorities. So it's not so much about, the technology or the processes or cost reduction. It's really about, at the end of the day, improving the customer experience. And you can leverage this, as I mentioned, by acting on insights, acting on data. And there are lots of ways to deliver more contextual experiences by acting on new insights. First of all, you can gather more contextual insights from devices and sensors. As I mentioned earlier, smartphones, some of the latest smartphones have up to 15, 16 sensors. They can collect very, very granular data about you and about your environment. Same thing on social, all the affinity data that consumers express on your brand, on your products, all the social listening platforms and so on that you can use to get access to more specific insights about your audience. Same thing with smart products and the Internet of Things, with wearables and all that kind of sensors that are sort of exploring away from our smartphones to be embedded into our TVs or cars or fridge or the buildings around us. And if you connect the dots with systems of engagement, that is to say, all the touch points in which you engage with customers, all the data you already have about your customers, their past behaviors, their past purchases, analytics data, the preferences they have expressed to you. And if you mix this with public as a service capabilities, to put it more simply, open data, what's the weather like today and how is it going to impact your customers' behaviors? If you use these as inputs and try to anticipate what people will do next by leveraging predictive analytics tools, you'll be able to better anticipate their needs and to deliver more relevant, more contextual customer experiences. Now, you may see this as a very theoretical slide, and you would be right. It's not, it takes some time. It's developing this kind of approach will not happen overnight and requires some investment. However, you already have brands doing a great job at this. TripIt is a good example. They literally do this. This travel app is leveraging lots of the data I mentioned here, is leveraging weather data, is connected to the back-end IT system of airline companies, is crawling data in your emails, on social websites, and so on, to improve your travel journey. And if your flight is likely to be delayed, we'll send you an in-app message so that you can, book an hotel if you're in transit or rebook another flight. And they sometimes do this even, before airline companies do. So it's definitely a competitive advantage. And you've got other brands in completely different industries doing this, like Disney. Disney, through Magic Bands, is individualizing experiences in the physical world. For some of the theme parks, it does not work in France for now, in Marne-la-Vallée, but it works in the theme parks in the U.S. and in the latest one in Shanghai. They open in China. These Magic Bands are wearables, RFID and waterproof wearables that act as a ticket to enter the park, that act as a payment tool, so that you can buy pretty much anything in a very sort of compulsive way, generating a higher average basket, particularly when you're with kids and that they want to buy something. It acts as a key to your hotel room, and it's also a way to have some kind of a VIP experience where you're not queuing for the next attraction. It actually saves time. But what it does is that it enables Disney to get access to very granular data about how you navigate the theme park, how much time you spend at lunch, what kind of attraction you want to visit, and so on. It's a treasure trove of data. And obviously, because it's Disney, they were very, very careful about privacy and evolved their privacy policy to make this happen. But it's something, such a project, I mean, they've invested a lot of money in it, more than $1 billion. So it's not like, some kind of a POC or a pilot. It's something that is working at scale. And what it does at the end of the day is that it delivers a great customer experience. And we have been measuring customer experience at Forrester for almost a decade now. And the way we look at it is we refer to this as the 3 E's of customer experience. And we believe that to really differentiate, you need to do three things right. The threes are about effectiveness. Customers must get value from the experience. It must be easy, so customers get value without the difficulty. But if you truly want to differentiate, customers must feel engaged by the experience. This is all about emotion, and it's a good example in the Disney, Magic Bands experience. If you share in advance, the reason why you're visiting the theme park, if it's your kid's birthday, what have you, then some of the Disney characters would welcome your kid and say, happy birthday with the name of your kids. It's one way to feel engaged by the experience. So emotion truly matters.
Sorry again to interrupt. I have another question, Thomas. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how do you measure emotion?
Oh yeah, very very good question. And again, feel free to interrupt anytime. You're right. So the measuring emotion is tricky. The practice is relatively nascent, and current measurement programs focus almost exclusively on metrics that reflect a rational or cognitive evaluation of experiences. And so we believe that to move forward, it matters to identify metrics that help you measure critical emotions for high-impact experiences. So, for example, you should first augment current methods for collecting customer experience metrics and analyzing voice of the customer data before moving on to more advanced approaches. And that there is some kind of some skepticism about emotion measurement. So you need to show that emotion measurement can drive action and tie emotion measurements to business success. And there are lots of ways to do this. It's about, you can use emotion question. You can analyze social media posts, have some kind of specific survey comments. You can do voice analysis as well to deduce emotional states from some specific voice characteristics. And there are a number of technologies and tools that enable you to measure emotion. So it would be difficult for me to go into the details here, but one of my colleagues, Maxi Schmitz, actually published a report about this, how to measure emotion in customer experience. More and more brands are starting to measure this, and when they do, they definitely see the difference, and it truly matters to understand how people feel engaged by the experience, not just if they get what they need easily.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, as I pointed out earlier, emotion is key. Customer experience matters, but with all this data collected, like in the Disney example, or on the chart mentioning IoT data, smartphone app, GPS data, and so on, there is no doubt that privacy concerns will grow. And it should not be seen as a legal issue. It should not be seen as just something related to compliance. We strongly believe elevating privacy and security to a business imperative is key. Privacy is a way to differentiate. And somehow you've got to move from a scary big brother approach to a big mother approach, where you take care of your customers, you trust them so that they trust you, you reassure them, you're very clear on the data you're using, the data you're not using, and what you're using it for. Few brands are doing a great job at this. The best example is probably Apple. They doubled down on privacy in the past 18 months, and it's part of the brand's DNA. We're starting to see more and more brands, particularly in the health sector or in the financial industry, taking privacy as a way to differentiate, and many more will go that route moving forward. That said, the sad reality is that marketers have many other challenges to face. Simply because with all these changes in technology and in behaviors, marketing is getting tougher. It is really getting tougher. There are new connections, new technologies from, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, HDMI, what have you, new touch points. We're talking about connected objects, connected TVs, iPads, and wearables. There are plenty of new media emerging. And at the end of the day, it's about delivering new experiences. And the journey for consumers is not, straightforward. They're using different channels at different times of the day, using different technologies. And to really solve this problem, it's about understanding the context. And context is changing marketing. There is really a huge change here. And campaigns alone, traditional campaigns, won't cut it. I'm not saying you should not, do marketing campaigns, but your competitors can also, compete with you on that front. They're getting better and better at that. So I think it's more about how you think of context, and it's clearly about creating a cycle of interactions. You deliver value to consumers, they feel recognized, you answer to their moments of needs, and you deliver some kind of a value exchange. It's about utility marketing. And if you deliver on this, you'll get more insights about what they like, what they dislike, how they feel engaged by the interaction with your brand, which will help you to improve the experience. So it's less about sort of traditional media schedules with sort of email batch. It's really about customer moments. And it's also impacting the way you measure things. It's less and less about GRPs and CPMs and more about minutes of engagement, the time consumers spend with your brand. And it matters a lot. And it's something marketers tell us constantly. When we ask them, what are your biggest marketing challenges? The top 3 challenges are about understanding behavior across channel and devices. As I pointed out, it's sometimes difficult to identify, if the same person is it the same person who visited your store, who connected on, a smartphone, and who logged into your website. So there's this notion of, customer identity and reconciling different kind of metrics about your customers. It's about transforming marketing as well for real-time interactions. And the third challenge is about integrating offline and offline interactions. And somehow, to succeed and overcome these challenges, you must build a contextual marketing engine. Here, you already have some of the pieces of the puzzle. You certainly have already customer databases. You certainly have analytics. You have insights. You have some form of marketing automation tools. But what you need to do is put them together with the help of various vendors, but also, more importantly, with the help of your business technology team, to be able to leverage these insights to enable marketing automation, to fuel customer interaction, and to make sure that these interactions drive customer engagement and long-term loyalty. My colleague Rusty Warner published lots of research on how to build a contextual marketing engine, and we believe this is really the way forward. And one way to approach this is via mobile. I mentioned earlier as a key market imperative to embrace the mobile mind shift, but mobile is the perfect catalyst for contextual marketing. At the end of the day, mobile moments are the next battleground. Consumers are already and will increasingly take control of the brand relationship via their smartphones. Your traffic on mobile devices is certainly skyrocketing, but what mobile is changing is your customers' expectations. They expect to be served in context, and if not, then they will, move to another brand. They will churn, and unfortunately, our research shows that too many marketers, too many organizations think of mobile as, a sub-digital channel. They claim to be, many brands claim to be mobile first. The reality is that too many are still stuck at, a less mature stage, and that mobile first per se will not be enough. Let me explain to you what I mean when I say mobile first will not be enough. To do this, I'm going to walk you through the 4 stages of our mobile maturity framework. The first stage is what we refer to as shrink and squeeze, where at the end of the day, it's still sort of a desktop-centric approach where you force content to fit into a small screen. And it does not work, but still, we estimate that almost a third of brands are stuck at this stage. And don't get me wrong, here you may use responsive web design. You may have native apps, but if you don't take context into account, if it's just about, scaling the content up or down, it simply won't work. And then the next stage of maturity is about, indeed, being mobile first. It's about starting with the most complex screen, the screen of the smartphone, to then have a retrofit approach for other channels. It's about enhancing physical world experience with mobile, creating net new mobile services. And here, we estimate that half of organizations are at this stage. But we expect 2 more major stages, because if you don't fully embrace the mobile-first philosophy, it is likely you're going to think of mobile as a channel. And we fundamentally believe at Forrester that mobile is not a channel. It is an opportunity to transform the customer experience, to win your customers' moments. And to do this, you need to use different methodologies to conduct ethnographic research and journey mapping to uncover consumer needs on the go. Here it's about proactively engaging with consumers based on their context. And here, less than 1 in 5 brands are at this stage. And we believe there is an even more major stage, which refers to business disruption, where mobile disrupts industries, businesses, and business models. And here, there are very few players. Mostly, I would say, I would argue, the unicorns or the decacorns, whatever you want to call them, that we saw at the beginning of the presentation on the slide with all the logos. So lots of different stages of maturity here at a theoretical point of view.
Thomas, one question around this. You mentioned the brands from the beginning of your presentation, but can you name specifically name some examples of who's doing it right, who is going beyond mobile first, who is really being mature in this?
Right. So in terms of business disruption, I think Uber would be a good example, because if you put regulation aside, at the end of the day, what they do is that through a mobile app, they match supply and demand in real time through location-based technologies. So Uber would be an example, in the category of business disruption. When it comes to sort of more traditional brands going beyond mobile first and really using mobile as a way to transform the customer experience, Disney would be a good example. In the US, the example I shared with Matching Bands is exactly about that. It's not just about improving the digital experience, it's also about transforming the offline experience. Starbucks would be a good example. They do this when they enable you to order your latte from a mobile app and to get served and to pay directly within the app. They do this. A couple of QSR companies like McDonald's in France and a few others, and some retailers, multi-channel retailers, have definitely embraced that approach. Be it Walmart or John Lewis in the UK and a few others. So yeah, here are a couple of brands that are going beyond mobile first. And I think the tricky part here is, if you just look at your competitors in the App Store, or if you look at their mobile website, you may think that they're not necessarily way more advanced than you are. What you don't see is what's happening sort of below the sea level. All the processes that are being evolved, all the investment that are being made in the infrastructure, in the back-end IT architecture to truly enable brands to deliver in the moment. So I think we'll have in the months and years to come many more sort of live examples to share of brands that have moved beyond mobile first.
Thank you.
Does that answers your question? All right.
Thank you.
So here, because of the huge success of some apps, many marketers sort of made the confusion between sort of being mobile first and being app first. And yes, consumers spend a lot of time, actually more than 80% of their mobile time within apps. It does not mean that you should over-invest in apps. On the contrary, we believe at Forrester that it matters to move beyond branded apps to win, serve, and retain your customers. What we mean by that is not just that you should not dismiss the mobile web being a fantastic way to acquire customers and playing a key role in the explore phase and in the discovery phase of the customer life cycle. But also the idea that a branded app will only enable you to serve your best customers, your most loyal customers. But if you truly want to serve more customers, you'll have to embed experiences into other apps and services. You have to open your APIs to be able to serve customers in real time in other apps. You share, as a brand, customers with other brands. You don't own the customer. And an example of this would be hotel companies like Accor or airline companies like United Airlines and others embedding directly the Uber service into their app in context when you need them the most. For example, when you arrived at destination or when you checked out from your hotel and are likely to go to the airport. And it's also going to be about platform experiences. And by platform experiences, we mean apps and services that are morphing into platforms. I touched upon WeChat at the beginning of the presentation. WeChat is exactly that. It has become a platform. Messenger from Facebook is moving into that direction. And we expect some other apps like, wallet apps to potentially become platforms moving forward. And there is a simple fact that justifies all this, is that even if people spend more than 80% of their mobile time in apps, they actually spend 84% of their app time in just 5 apps. 5 apps, primarily social media and messaging apps. Hence, the reason why we're seeing so much interest in the likes of Snapchat, Messenger, WeChat, and the likes. But you may argue that, mobile is not necessarily a big deal anymore because it will be replaced by new platforms. There's always this quest for a new platform, be it virtual reality or the Internet of Things, and we think it's a mistake because mobile is here to stay. We're not saying that virtual reality will not get traction; it will, and then we expect 30 million virtual reality headsets in the U.S. alone by 2020. But mobile is likely to be really the key enabler to activate new brand experiences. Even in an IoT world where all objects will be connected, we believe that responding to mobile moments will be the key to unlocking IoT experiences. It will happen through mobile, where mobile will be maybe less of a user interface device and more of a privacy and control device, where you'll be able, moving forward, to anticipate mobile moments and to unify connected experiences, experiences that are taking place in your car, at home, while you're on the go, or in your connected workplace. And yes, in the longer term, we expect standalone IoT experiences that will deliver some kind of magical experiences. You enter the room and all of a sudden, the light and the music you want are automatically and magically coming up. But we're not there yet, and it will take some time. And this world is very well described in David Rowe's book, Enchanted Objects, which is definitely a good read to understand the power of the Internet of Things. But mobile will not disappear. It will, on the contrary, be the choreographer of these new brand experiences. And despite saying this, many marketers are still focusing on technologies. I don't know why. There's this fascination for the latest technologies, the latest shiny objects, beacons and IoT and RWD, responsive web design, and 5G and all these kind of acronyms. But it truly does not matter. It is about prioritizing people over technology. We've asked executives about the biggest barriers to success they face. And guess what? Well, number 1, lack of budget or people. Number 2, a lack of agility and slow time to market. Number 3, organizational challenges. Who is in charge of mobile? Who is in charge of customer experience? These kind of questions that are difficult to answer in large and siloed organizations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, it's not difficult to integrate new technologies, that there are no implementation challenges or processes issues. On the contrary, and this graphic highlights this as well. But they're not the main barriers. It's really about prioritizing people over technology. And if you work in a large organization, your key challenge is likely to be, how do I attract these talents? how do I hire them, and how I make sure to retain the top digital talent so that they don't go and work for, one of these unicorns or a startup or the big digital platforms. That's really what's going to matter the most to help you evolve your culture. So let me wrap up here to make sure we have time for questions. Just wanted to share with you three key messages today. First of all, you must align your brand promise with the customer experience you deliver. This is a change in the marketer's mindset. You should do what you say. Second, fuel a contextual marketing engine to act on insights and deliver more relevant experiences. You have some of the pieces of the puzzle. It matters to put them together to be able to act on these insights and do more of what you know about your customers. And last but not least, think of mobile as a way to transform your business and accelerate your digital transformation. It is a perfect catalyst for a business transformation and to fully embrace contextual marketing and stay relevant in the age of the customer. And just wanted to, before opening for a question, to share one last food for thought. It's actually a picture I love quite a lot. You may recognize here Sir Richard Branson, the CEO of Virgin Atlantic. And you probably, I don't know, you may or may not know the story, but he lost a bet against one of his competitors and said, well, if I lose, I will serve my own customers. I always like to listen to my customers and to serve them. And it's also, fun. And so the idea is to say, well, obviously there are lots of challenges, things are changing, but do not forget to listen to your customers directly. Your customers are not digital proxies. They are human beings, and you must be human in the way you serve them. So thank you very much for your attention. And Talia, I'll hand over to you now to moderate the Q&A session, or if you had any other questions that you wanted to ask during the presentation.
Thank you, Thomas. It was a great presentation. We have a couple of questions that just came through. The first one is, what is the big challenge for marketers?
So I alluded to that in one of the last slides of the presentation, saying it was about prioritizing people over technology. But to me, the biggest challenge of all is to change the mindset, because most marketers have been used to, I would say, sort of broadcast messages. It's about, saying your brand is the best of all, doing lots of, we know marketers overinvest in TV advertising, but the challenge is really to change that mindset, to make sure marketers do what they say, and that at the end of the day, they also own the customer experience across channel, that they deliver their brand promise, and that they are more human, that they are, they must be handy, that they really must be helpful, and that's a change in the approach. Yeah, I would say that's the biggest marketing challenge. Change your marketing mindset to truly deliver your brand promise. Do what you say would be a good mantra.
Okay, great, thank you. We have one more question. What industries are doing a better job at delivering a great customer experience?
So, as I pointed out in the beginning, it depends a lot on, within the same industry, the extent to which you take customer experience seriously and start acting on it. Having said that, we've been measuring customer experience for a number of years, and we do regularly publish a customer experience index for various regions. We've just published the U.S. one, and in there is a consistent trend that some industries are lagging behind. This is true of government agencies and governments, of internet service providers, TV service providers, airline companies, health insurance providers, rental car providers tend to, deliver poor experiences according to consumers themselves. And then you have some industries that are ahead of the curve and that are starting to deliver sort of okay to good experiences. Digital-only retailers, traditional retail banks, auto and home insurance providers, direct banks are definitely, above average. And then there are lots of, variations within the same industry. There are a couple of companies that are delivering excellent customer experience, but they're definitely a minority.
Okay, thank you for your answer. We don't have any other questions coming through, so we're closing this session. I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation. It was a great presentation, and I'd like to thank the audience for coming up today. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.